Welcome to the TexAgs High School Football Show, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy carries all the best gear from the top brands, all at prices you'll love, and now shipping is more convenient than ever at academy.com and on the Academy app. Enjoy free shipping on orders of $25 or more with sign-in, plus easy in-store or curbside pickup. Shop anytime, anywhere, and find our widest selection of colors, styles, and sizes. From grills to fitness equipment to workout clothes, everything you need to have fun out there is right here at academy.com. What's up, everybody? Football is back in the state of Texas, and we are back on the TexAgs High School Football Show presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Ryan Brauninger. He's Jason Howell. Jason has actually got a little bit of a head start on the high school football coverage with a tour of the Southeast a little bit to see some A&M players, and we'll get into that in just a second. But, Jason, just another year under the Friday night lights, mostly in the state of Texas, but I'm super pumped, man, for it to be back.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better, man. This is a time of year we all live for, we all love. Expectations are high across the board, and everyone's undefeated. So it's a good time, man. Really, just excited to get back out in the communities and around the atmospheres. Especially in the state of Texas. Doesn't get any better.
Well, yeah, and what we usually do in these shows, if this is your first time tuning in, is we will recap our weeks where we went the week prior and then kind of talk about those games and who we saw and what we liked before we get into our next week. But I didn't go anywhere last week. We're going to get into what Jason did for a little bit. But, for this show, we also are going to talk about week one in Texas, the schools that in the games that we're going to see. But also maybe even offer a little bit of some bold predictions toward the end. I'm not going to sit here and say that North Shore and Duncanville are going to be really good. Duh. We know that, right? But we maybe offer some things off the beaten path or maybe some hot takes as we get ready for this 2023 high school football campaign. But, Jason, kick us off, man. Just a quick little overview of your tour of was it Georgia, Alabama, and Florida last week?
Yeah, got to see stop through Phoenix City, Alabama on day one, and catch up with Cam Coleman and head football coach Patrick Nix out there. Great time. If you haven't seen the interview, go watch both of those interviews. Cam has just such an energy to him, and Coach Nix could not be more, glowing about the future and the kind of player that Cam is for those guys out there at Phoenix City Central anyways. And then on Thursday, I was out at Milton, got a chance to see the Eagles play the Eagles of Collins Hill, and Milton got out and kind of took control of things, 28-13 win. DeBron Gatlin opened things up with a nice little kickoff return. He's really tried to focus on improving his burst and explosion, and you could see that. And talking with Coach Ben Reeves out there, that's something he's noticed in the offseason, and he's really excited to see. We didn't get to see a whole lot of that because those Collins Hill DBs were clutching and grabbing all night long, trying to make sure DeBron did not get behind them. So I want to say he alone had 3 or 4 pass interference penalties called on the DB against him when they did go long. But yeah, he got twisted and turned and all kinds of things throughout the night. Had a few short gains here and there, but overall it was a solid night. It was opening weekend football, penalties, mistakes here and there, but Milton's got some real players. It should be a nice factor if they find their rhythm on offense. And that defense is stout. They were without Tyler Redmond, who has a Texas A&M offer in that 25 class. He was out due to an injury, but that defense led by Ja'Cory Stewart was making plays all over the field, and they were able to pull away for a nice 28-13 win with the last points from Collins Hill coming with no time on the clock. Then the next night, Friday, I was at Pace Academy to see Terrence Kill Jr. And let me tell you, he's fun to watch. Posted some highlights from the game. 24-14 loss to Holy Innocents.
He's a fun kid to be around, regardless.
Oh yeah, he was great. He showed a lot of real quickness and explosion throughout the game. As played multiple positions on offense, defense, and special teams. Came in at Wildcat quarterback and put the last points on the board for Pace Academy in the fourth quarter. He was a highlight. He was a highlight show, and 6 foot, 180 pounds. He showed he can do it on the football field as well as baseball. Committed to Texas A&M baseball, and we'll see what happens on the football side of things. But it sounds like if he does make it to A&M, he said as much. He plans to eventually, try his hat at both, and try and get on the football field as well. So we'll see. But Jacoby Murray stole the show. Holy Innocents. He's committed to Stanford. He's a D-line prospect, and he's a guy that came in at running back in their option attack, and he was just a bowling ball. They Pace couldn't do a whole lot with him. If they, whatever they needed, he got it for him. And Jacoby Murray's he's a fun one to watch. Stanford got him a good one there in that one. But then I capped it off with a trip down to Bluntstown to catch up with our Jordan Pride and Coach Greg Jordan down there. Jordan is recovering from an ACL injury. He's well on his way back and ahead of schedule. They think he could be any week now. Back on the field, but they're also going to be pretty careful about him and making sure he's good to go. They don't want to jeopardize anything there and want to make sure he's 100%. But last week in their scrimmage, Jordan was out there begging to get on the field when he saw that offense struggling or wanting to make a play, help his team out. So he's going to do what he can to try and make it back as soon as possible. All in all, great weekend.
Yeah, you were super busy. I know you had some interesting driving routes that you had to take, but you got it all done and got it all covered. And then so we got that content out on TexAgs. If you're a subscriber and you haven't watched all that from Jason's trip to the Southeast, you need to make sure and go and do that. But we will start. I guess I will start my high school football campaign in the state of Texas. But you are going across another border one more time. I think this might be the record. You're going to have a record, I think, this year for going and seeing out-of-state football. Not because Dallas is down at all, just because there's not as many A&M targets in the 24 class in DFW. So you're kind of getting creative with your schedule.
Well, that and A&M's got more out-of-state commitments than they've ever had at this time of the year. So we know there's some guys out of state that we need to see. And, this weekend, I'm starting my weekend off on Thursday with a trip up to Moore, Oklahoma to see Tulsa Union and Westmore face off. You've got Devin Jordan up there, who's a cornerback prospect A&M's offered in this top 5. He's visited a few times. And, he's a guy that's pretty high on A&M's board at cornerback. And, somebody we need to get some more information on and see out there. So he's got a top 5 with OU, Oklahoma State, TCU, Alabama, and A&M. And the Sooners are making a nice push for him. We'll see what happens with A&M there. But he's definitely the reason why I'm ready to get out there. But Tulsa Union has such a great program. There's going to be a lot of prospects out there. And also Westmore's got a guy that's committed to Oklahoma and safety, Michael Patterson McDonald. So could be a nice little matchup. See some things happen on Thursday. And then I get going in Texas with DeSoto Allen.
That's a big one on Friday. There's some elite matchups in week 1 across the state of Texas, especially in the big schools. But, DeSoto Allen is about as big as it gets in Dallas.
Yeah, and if you're looking for guys that, with a game with A&M prospects in it, this one probably has as much as any across the state. Zena Mosolo, who was just in town for the pool party at the end of July, a little surprise visit. I don't think anybody called that one. But A&M's very much involved there. And with his brother Zicky, who's got, preferred walk-on opportunity at A&M as well as several other places. And then DeSoto, I mean, geez, Tiger, that 25 class, A&M's offered 3 prospects alone. Tiger Ryden, wide receiver Dalen Singleton, and Sile Reyes, who is the younger brother of A.J. Johnson, former A&M standout. And then in 2027, you got Booby Feaster, who's expected to make some big plays for him early on. So right from the start, he'll be a playmaker to watch there. But they've got a ton of talent, a ton of D1 athletes on both sides of the ball for both teams. So it should be a lot of fun, knockdown, drag out competition right there. I'm really looking forward to getting out there for the Landry Classic.
On Thursday night, I'll be opening my slate of games for the year at Woodforest Bank Stadium in the Woodlands to see Grand Oaks take on Aldine Nimitz. A little bit of a thin schedule in Houston on Thursday night, but Grand Oaks has got 2026 quarterback Grant Smith, who's got an A&M offer. Really like their young receiver Preston Cloud, and then the 2025 class Ty Roop, a big, kind of a giant frame tight end that's like the strength and the mass is coming. Dad played baseball at A&M. Mom played soccer at A&M. Now his older sister's playing soccer at Texas A&M. So there's some real A&M ties. The kid that A&M has been keeping an eye on. So really interested to see if the Aggies go ahead and make a move. He's got some offers, but it'd be really interesting to see what would happen if A&M would have made a move and offered Ty Roop in that 2025 class. On Friday night, we also should say that Kay Drawn, who our recruiting assistant, who has been done great work. If you're following TexAgs, he was all over the Blake Ivy commitment at Clear Springs High School. He will be going out to games on his own as well. So in addition to what me and Jason cover, we will also be bringing you content from the games that Cade is covering. And on Friday night, he will be at Manville versus Shadow Creek, a big one on the south side of Houston. Shadow Creek, that roster is loaded, and they're one of my dark horses in the city of Houston to make a run at a state title. And then Manville with Coach Kirk Martin back in the saddle for the Mavericks there. It'd be really interesting to see kind of Coach Hall had a really good program there, but they haven't been, Coach Martin had them going to state championships, semifinals, making deep runs every year. We'll see if they can get them back to that. 2026 Texas A&M quarterback offer, Roman Seymour, expected to feature in that one. On Friday night, where am I going Friday night? Oh, yeah, I'm going to Klein Cain and Summer Creek on the north side of Houston at Memorial Stadium. Going to see Texas A&M linebacker target Xavier Atkins go up against a Klein Cain program and a Klein Cain team that's got some real skill, talent on offense, very big up front. Gibson Pyle, offensive lineman, committed to Nebraska. Also 2025 receiver Blaine Bullard, a Texas A&M baseball commit and one of their more productive guys on offense there for the Hurricanes. And on Saturday, I am going to open I'm going to see Ashton Funk open his senior season at Katy Tompkins against Cy Ranch at Legacy Stadium. And then Cade will be at Clear Springs versus Katy. I think that's going to be a really good game. Obviously see 2 Texas A&M offensive line commits in Blake Ivy and Cohen Eccles there at Katy. So it's a full slate of games for us. I think every week, Jason, just about, I don't know, me and you sometimes will take a week off during the season for whatever reason. But between me, you, and Cade, I mean, there's a chance that we're going to be seeing as a group close to double-digit games every weekend. So I'm super pumped about our coverage this fall. And anytime that we can get more boots on the ground, us being TexAgs, we don't have a network that we can rely on for guys that cover other schools. So the more times that we get on the ground and shake hands with coaches and trainers and all that kind of stuff, the better it is for us. And then in turn, the better it is for our product.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, it's always good to get back in the communities and be around the coaches and players. And as you mentioned, the trainers and the families and just, be in those atmospheres. And there's a lot that goes with that.
All right.
Sure.
We're going to close this episode will be a little bit shorter than normal. Yeah. We always go through some of these games, I guess. There are some big ones across the state. Arlington, Martin, Lake Travis.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Austin, Westlake against Fort Bend Ridge Point. Am I missing any big ones in Dallas? San Antonio Johnson against Converse Judson. I'm telling you what, watch out for San Antonio Johnson. Ty Hawkins is a player at quarterback.
Yeah, that should be a fun one. In Dallas, you've got South Oak Cliff versus at Duncanville to kick things off. That's going to be a fun one. A battle between state champions at
Denton Guy, Rockwall Heath.
Yeah, you got Melissa Argyle and Decatur Anna. Those are going to be a couple of real fun ones. Lovejoy and College Station.
Yep. Atascocita, Dickinson, and Houston's a good one.
If you want a good inner city battle Saturday at Kincaid Stadium in Dallas, you got Houston Yates at Dallas Carter.
Wow.
And both of them look like they're they've got some good things going. At
Yates has got some players now. Yates, I know Yates has got, and I know Carter's got a couple of players that are starting to receive some Division I looks as well. Don't want to forget North Shore against the Woodlands. They've opened the season against each other the last couple of years. Interesting North Shore roster this year. Really interesting. They get Caleb Bailey back at quarterback, but they lose David Amador, who was their best player at receiver. They may be replacing him with Dion DeBlanc, who had to sit out last year. So I don't know that North Shore or Duncanville, we know Duncanville ain't going anywhere. Look at that roster. But I don't think North Shore is planning on going anywhere. But it's interesting. John Kay, no longer the head man on the east side of Houston. He's at Rice now. So Coach Gaston in his first season at North Shore would be really interesting to see. He's a North Shore guy.
I was going to say, he's been there a while, so he knows exactly what he's in for and everything around that program. He knows all the ins and outs there. So I don't expect a drop off too much, you know. So and I'll say this, there's another one, Longview at McKinney on Thursday night. Yeah. That's the one that everybody's got circled up here. Tons of prospects, with Taylor Tatum, Xavier Filsami, Brian Jackson. You got them all
Riley
over
Pettyjohn,
the field.
right?
Yeah, Riley Pettyjohn. Yeah, you got a ton of guys out there. It's gonna be a knockdown drag out there in McKinney. So
all right, let's do some quick predictions. Give me some teams in Dallas that you think are gonna be better than maybe people are talking about. You got the top ends, the Allens, the DeSotos, the Geyers, those kind of level programs. But who's maybe in that next group ready to unseat some of those traditional powers?
Well, I think we talk about these guys. There's two teams that really jump to mind.
I have one. I'm going to see if you pick one of mine in Dallas.
Well, I know which one you're going for because you bring them up just about every year. But
it's not
I'm
Prosper.
Start with
not Prosper.
I was going to say Louisville.
That's the one. Louisville
is just they've made deep runs the last few years, and last year they really seemed to get over the hump a bit. And I think quarterfinals had been it for them. And this last year they made it, made it another round deeper. And they've got a ton of talent. Offensive line is huge. They've got a senior quarterback and Ethan Terrell that's committed to Jackson State. They've got playmakers all over the field. That defense, man, they're going to be replacing some key pieces out there, but they have some dudes. It's going to be fun to watch. But and then Prosper is the other one. And both of them have huge offensive lines and they both play with that mentality. They're just going to go out there and beat on you. I mean, they're not afraid of a fight. They're not afraid of anybody out there. And those two teams have been dangerous in that 6A for a while now.
All right. In Houston, I will go, man, I'm kind of leaning toward Katie Jordan. I love their skill talent. They just had Jimmy Alo Suliafu, one of the best 26 defensive linemen in the state, moved there from Katy High. It's a really tough district, but if you're looking for a team that nobody's ever talked about, it's a new school. I like Katie Jordan. I also like Fulshire in the 5A ranks out of that same area, just as a couple of schools. Everybody knows about Fort Bend Marshall and North Shore and Katy. Just a couple of schools to keep your eye on that may surprise some people outside of the traditional powers. And I do have a couple of bold predictions. Now, these are what we call hot takes in sports. My number one team in the city of Houston entering the season is the Atascocita Eagles.
Okay.
I love it with the addition of Jelani Watkins on offense, and we know what kind of electricity he's got. And they've got a returning quarterback in Zion Brown, Torrey Blaylock at running back, Nate Kibble on the offensive line, Kyron Pate at receiver, Braylon Conley at DB. That is a really good roster for Craig Stump. I also think when you're looking at the traditional powers, I think North Shore is going to be really, really, really good again. I don't know what we're going to see out of Katy. Now, we've said that before about Katy, and what happens? They go 14-1 or 15-0, and they're right there in the semifinal or the final every year. But go ahead.
I was going to say, Katy, man, that's a machine. They could put you at quarterback back there, me at quarterback back there. Coach would figure it out, man. I don't know. But they always seem to be right there, ready to go. He's got them revving and running right from the start, discipline, and they just know that system, man. So I don't expect Katy to take a step back.
My other bold prediction is I think we see another state championship appearance from a team from Southeast Texas, whether that's P&G, Silsby, Jasper, West Orange Stark. I think somebody from Southeast Texas makes their way to AT&T Stadium.
Who's your favorite?
I'm not going to bet against Draylon Miller, right?
I was going to say.
And they had a quarterback come in that moved in that I think can distribute the ball well enough to him, and they got a couple of more playmakers offensively. But Draylon's the best player in that area. He's one of the best players in the state. I'm not going to bet against him. But we know about the Jasper roster and how talented it is, and it's all underclassmen. West Orange Stark, I think, is poised to have the best year they've had in 4 or 5 years since their last state title run. So, and P&G, P&G was right there, and you'll forget Sock, as loaded as they were, P&G went to halftime leading Sock in that state championship game last year. So, and P&G's in the top 5, I believe, in 5A Division II to start the season. So, Coach Jeff Joseph there at P&G got that thing rolling a little bit. Any bold predictions on your end?
I don't know about bold, but I'm looking for Sock to get that three-peat, man. That's talk about DISD really stepping up, and Coach Todd and all the guys out there, a phenomenal staff. They got a lot of talent returning, and man, I look for them to continue that run. They're taking on all comers. They've got, who do they have in non-district? They start with Duncanville. They got DeSoto in there, and they've got,
they're not running from anybody.
No. And that's really what they have to do is, they have to jump in and really find out what they're made of pretty quickly with that district they play in. And, that they find out with that schedule they have in non-conference. So I look for Sock to once again do their thing.
Did you see who's number 1 in 5A Division II to start the year?
Who's that?
Melissa.
Who's that? That doesn't surprise me.
Do you think they can? Is there enough offensively for them to win it?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens at quarterback, and if they can really be consistent on offense. They've got playmakers out there. They've got a really good running back. They've got a huge offensive line. They lost some guys, but they replaced them with kids that are 6'5", 280 and 6'6", 260. So it's ridiculous. They got some dudes, and then that defense is what it is. Yeah. So, and they gave Sock a nice run for their money there in the playoffs. So we'll see. But I look for them. I look for Lucas Lovejoy and those schools to be way up there. Argyle is going to be another one that's just consistently up there. Euless Trinity is a name I've kind of heard that's kind of got some things rolling. So we'll see what happens with those guys. It'll be fun. It's always better when you got a traditional power like Euless Trinity back, back doing big things. So I would love to see the Trojans back and rolling. So
all right,
we'll see.
It's good to be back talking high school football, especially in the state of Texas. All right, so be careful on the road this weekend, Jason. If you guys are watching, you're subscribers to TexAgs, we will have all the updates from the games highlights, all that kind of deal throughout the weekend. For Jason Howell, I'm Ryan Brauninger. Thanks for tuning in to week 1 of the TexAgs High School Football Show.